A historic one. We started these AI summits in Bletchley Park in the United Kingdom, and then they continued in South Korea and then in France. This is the first AI summit that is in a part of the emerging power developing region part of the world, what we sometimes call the Global South, which reflects the importance of this technology for billions of people, how they work, how they get medical care, how they get education. Question of how this technology will be controlled and how it shapes people's lives is very much in the discussions happening at this summit.
So lots of countries are joining here, they're talking each other. So do you see there would be huge collaboration between nation to nation, government to government after the summit?
I see that as a very important outcome of the summit. So much of what happens in the world is not driven by any one decision made in the United Nations or in the G20. It's people learning from each other, companies, organizations, nonprofits, and ultimately government to government. I think one clear theme in India's foreign policy is its important relationships in sub-Saharan Africa, for example. And those connections between India and Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, and so on reflect the interest of both in technology and how can be used to improve people's lives, but also some of the hard trade-offs involving national security and technology, and also the questions that India has put on the table globally around digital public infrastructure.
So the world is having two big nations in terms of AI technology, US and China. So where India is standing?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge that the Chinese and the American tech ecosystems are very strong, that they've made very big contributions. The Chinese are really second to none in manufacturing. They're trying to leap ahead in terms of robotics, but they also have some important open weight, open source releases of models that can be retrained. But at the same time, the U.S. has a powerful ecosystem of innovation, early venture capital investment, universities, people who come from all over the world to America, and despite all the disruptions in the U.S., that ecosystem remains strong. But can countries around the world, including many emerging powers, really feel completely satisfied just having two powerful countries shape the entire ecosystem of technology? I think the answer is that would be very hard to imagine. So I think India is likely to be at the forefront of investing in talent, in its own data and compute infrastructure, and ideally in building up a set of application layers that will go on top of the models and really make them very useful for consumers. A very important dimension of that is going to be voice. Here in India, with so many languages and so many people with differing levels of access to formal education, an important vector for relating to these models and this technology will not just be sitting down and typing into an API or using a graphical interface, but using voice. And in that area, for example, India might come up with innovations that might dynamically affect the rest of the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you for talking.
Terrific. My pleasure.